Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Call the meeting to order at 6:31. Can I have approval of agenda, please?
So moved. Second.
Any questions, changes? Good? Excellent. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And can I have approval of the minutes from November 12th, please? So moved.
Second.
Any questions, comments, changes? Everybody's name spelled right? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Abstain, Julie.
Oh, abstain, thank you.
I'm sorry, I wasn't here that meeting, and I'll have to abstain.
Okay.
Sounds good. For the.
All right, Tara too?
Yep.
You got him, Bonnie? Thank you. All right, CES presentation, student presentation. Welcome.
Yeah, this is great. Want us to move? Your neighbors over. I'm sorry. See, now we're
So, I'm Bonnie Condit. I've been teaching third grade here for, just trying to figure out, I think possibly 17 years. And we have a limited student helpers. Come on over, guys. Very nice and loud.
Hi, I am Nora. I like playing
Oh,
with
right here. Okay, just say your name. Just your name. Yes.
I have church.
And of course, they are scared out of their mind. If you think they're looking at you, they're really looking at that cow on your wall behind you. So, hopefully you don't have anybody passing out or anything. We've been asked to share a tradition that has been in third grade for, I don't even know how many years this has been going on. I'm thinking possibly Mary Kay Gillen may have started it, but it may have been even before Mary Kay, I'm not sure. But it centers around the blue cat of Castletown. And if you've ever heard of anybody who has gone to school here in the last 20 or more years, they probably have experienced the blue cat and hopefully have learned a great deal. So we're here tonight to just give you a little background information about what it is. The Blue Cat of Castletown is third grade's local history tour. And it's based on the book, The Blue Cat of Castletown by Catherine Faithful Burns.
So our typical day, our field trip starts at about 8:30, and we gather and go on a guided bus tour. Emergency County actually gives us the full-fledged bus tour. We look at those special houses, the historical places in town, and then we will separate into two groups. One group begins at the Higbee Museum, and the other group begins at the Cobble Shop. And we do a walking tour of downtown Castleton. It lasts about an hour or so, and then switch groups. After the tours, we go down to the Castleton River, where the kids stay completely silent and look for the blue cat. And most of the kids can hear the blue cat singing. If not, we know. We then go to the Federated Church, and we look at the pulpit that was designed by Thomas State. This is a kids who walk up the church steps and around the pulpit and back down, and they got to look at the organ. And then we end the trip at the cemetery, where they look for the headstones of Ebenezer Southway and all of the all of the people mentioned in the Blue Cat book.
So why the blue cat? Well, it ties into a lot of different things that we do in third grade. Our very first ELA theme is called Stories Worth Telling. And in our opinion, a story about Castleton's history is definitely worth telling for the kids who go to this school. So the students have to describe character traits from the people that are in the story. They have to identify the moral of the story. Basically, it's all that is worth doing, do well. So that sets the stage for a wonderful third grade year. We tie in some social studies standards, how historical sources can be used to talk about the past, comparing life in historical times to the present. Obviously, a lot of new vocabulary that is mentioned. We also talk about some science concepts, like natural resources, and what made the settlers pick this particular area to start their homes.
We talked about the Blue Path was a historical fiction book, so one of the speakers is really very great, talking about genres of stories. So historical fiction is one of the genres we look at, and it was written in 1949. And the Blue Path mission was to teach the people of Pakistan about the value of unity and peace and stability and community.
Even though it is based on a blue cat who was born under a blue moon, and he did not listen to his mother, he listened to the songs of the river, he was given that quest that Beth just described. But in his journey throughout town, he meets some people who actually live in this town. And one of the first ones that he meets is Ebenezer Southgate, who was a pewterer at the time. And the students learn about how pewter was made, what kind of ingredients go into it. They learn about how he put his touch mark on the bottom of pieces of work and to look at yard sales and any place else that you might see a piece of pewter that might be worth thousands of dollars at this point. But Ebenezer Southgate is buried in the town cemetery. It's really hard to read his stone at this point, but goes from start to finish with Ebenezer Southgate.
As we reviewed the trip, we talked about the Blue Path meeting John Gilroy, who's a weaver, and students have to visit the museum, and they can see the actual tablecloth that was made by him. And in the design of the white thread on the white background, you see the Renaissance pattern with the silver and then the words on the circle.
So because this talks about Remington Tavern and the time just before the Revolutionary War, the story does mention some things about the Green Mountain Boys and some of the talks that they had. So it sets the stage for their fourth grade curriculum, where they go to Fort Ticonderoga and learn more about the Revolutionary War. Another person that lived in our town who's mentioned in the story is Thomas Dake. He was a house joiner or an architect. And if you've ever gone on the Colonial Days tour of Castleton, which happens in August, you may have been able to go into some of the local homes and see the curved staircases for which he is most famous. We drive through town on the bus at the very beginning, and we show the students that his house is right at the very end of Stayso Road, and tell them a little story that the previous owners mentioned about how Thomas Dake built that house for his wife, and when you first open up that door, there's a beautiful curved stairway. That on the day that he got married, he went through that door, and there was his beautiful wife Sally at the top of the stairs. So a little romance in there too. But the pulpit is one of his really good designs that is famous around the area.
The students got to go up onto the pulpit and see what this is like to deliver a sermon, which they thoroughly enjoyed.
And for those of you who have never been inside of the Federated Church, we talked about how he designed it so that no one will ever be late for church, because everybody faces the door for people to come in. So if you are late, everybody can in. One of the other characters in the story is a lady named Derua Higley Guernsey Caswell. And all of that is worth doing, do well. well. These things that we have mentioned, these people have really done things and made an impact. Her carpet that she made is hanging at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. I believe it's currently in storage, but the blue cat is way down at the bottom of the center. And if you ever go to the Met, call ahead and see if maybe they'll pull it out of storage for you. But we talk about Zorua, the Pigley Museum is part of her relatives, the cobbler shop related also. We talk about where she lived after she got married. We show them where the location was.
So inside the Bailey house, we can attach it to some of the original artwork that was in the book.
We're very, very lucky with this tour because a lot of members of the Historical Society participate, and the members of the Pigley Museum, they come and they have talked to the kids about changes over time. Here is Mrs. Feeney, who's talking to the boys and girls about the evolution of lighting in homes, how we started out, what we use now, and we talk about how this is a replica of the carpet that is hanging at the Metropolitan Museum. You can see the blue cat right down in the lower right-hand corner of the screen.
Mrs. Thompson talked to students about how the families entertain themselves in the homes long ago. He made connections to the Underground Railroad that was in the home, the hidden room in the attic, which was really pointed out to everyone. And then Mrs. Pringone shared her knowledge of the blue cat carpet.
And of course, most stories have to have a villain, and unfortunately, Aruna Hyde is this story's villain. So if you live in Hydeville, you may have him to thank for that. But in addition to him being portrayed in this story as a businessman who wants greed and power, he did have a sawmill in the area as well as an inn. He was a very good businessman for our town.
We then visited the cobbler shop. It was not a huge part of the impact book, but the students got to go inside the oldest brick building in the state of Vermont, and we met Mr. Don Thompson, who talked to us about the construction.
Even though it sounds morbid, a lot of the students really like going to the cemetery to find the gravestones of some of the people that we did read about. And we talked about some of the symbolism that is used on the stones, such as a death head on some of the older stones. And we can no longer do the gravestone rubbings, but they still like to walk around and find the different names and weeping willows and different symbols.
We also went on an architectural walk. We did look for the different features of the homes we're practicing, and it was the natural resources that were used in construction. We brought up a lot of vocabulary, like columns and symmetrical design, families and skylights and ventals, and what else did we talk about?
Pop and Jordan door. Get up. Get up. What's the first one? Doric. The next one is. And the third one is. Corinthian. So they have fun.
I didn't even go to school here.
And at the end of the trip, we had the students do their little reflection about what was their favorite part and why. And these boys and girls are here to come on up, and you're going to tell us about your favorite part. So front and center. Who's going to be first? All right.
I'd be doing the same thing. How far can I get?
Okay, nice and loud.
Hi, I am Mark. I like the about the building. In the place that I like the style of the houses. I felt be successful, says the flag. The Federated Church trusts its people. The windows are clean and you see the real estate. The hope is not perfect. The blue hat story ends with it says the flag. After the fun of the cat churches was going in the Federated Church because it was told to be the 10 years going to the order of Lord Thomas and Quebec. I also like going to churches and getting to the right time about the time system. I didn't know the blue cat church which was going to take us to the river and trying to stop the blue cat. I saw the blue cat when I said it was for the blue.
So before we go, let me just explain that. In the story, if the blue cat fulfills his quest, he becomes immortal. So even though this story was written a very long time ago, boys and girls are still able to spot that cat down at the Castleton River.
My favorite part was the comedy. I like learning how the new virtual classroom is. My favorite part of the cat field trip was going to the cemetery and trying to find one of the high relatives. I also like going to the Brooklyn Museum and learning what they used back in the 1800s.
Excellent job.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Right, thank you very much.
Reading. Take some time.
All right, we're on to public comment. There's so many of you here about anything. It's exciting. Yeah.
My name is Cameron. I'm going to live in Orwell. Three kids in the district, one in Orwell and two down at the high school. And, I went to the innovation meeting the other night last week and got a first-hand look at the proposed changes to the district. Come here and offer my comments. We're going to take two forms of these comments. The first are questions, perhaps to get some clarification of what you guys are trying to do. Perhaps you can answer them tonight. Perhaps you can include them in documentation, or perhaps you can get those answers to me in some other way of where I can turn it out to you, or what the resource is that you can answer that. And the second one is a comment based on my own opinion. And I'm hoping that you'll get to listen to those comments, knowing that I speak to them with concerns about the education quality of kids first and foremost. Not for taxes, first and foremost, but education quality, first and foremost. It's important to me that what we're doing is about the kids. So I'm asking that you listen to those comments. I'm asking that they don't get attacked, derided, made fun of, dismissed as complaints, or whining. Okay? First and foremost, some simple ones. The enrollment projections. How do you guys come about those? If there's a formula that you use, if there's a basis for them, could those be explained?
Can I get a clarification? Enrollment, like who's coming into kindergarten, or enrollment for the next 10 years? Like, what do you mean?
Include those in your report.
Okay.
So at some point, you've got things starting in 2021. Obviously, you can look down and see what's coming down the line based on who's in preschool or some first record in town. You can get those things. But at some point, you get down to 2026, and you start to get towards some guessing, I think. But I don't know, because there's no explanation. And maybe there is, because I didn't see it. So then that goes in line with the claim of the vote for projects to become an attraction of families to the district. So at what point do you anticipate or project those new people coming in? Because that's what this is supposed to be, is to make this a flagship, make this an attraction. And so when I see the projections flat up into 2026, and some of these things are supposed to happen in 2021, 2022, I start wondering, well, how does that get accounted? Third thing, middle school facility site. What sort of criteria was used, and where that can be reviewed? Because it seems like, from what I've read, is that there's been some sort of evaluation that you guys did, and you came up with an answer, but I don't see where that evaluation was. Fourth, what does the school board consider as too small to be sustainable? Because sustainability in terms of educational opportunities is the theme of what you guys are trying to improve on. And yet, I don't see what that definition is as too small. The fifth one, and this ties into that too small thing, is that if the middle school proposal goes forward and you take students out of Benson at the 7th and 8th grade level, you're dropping down to a population of what I think is 42 projected. 42 sounds pretty dang small. And so I know I spoke with some people there on Wednesday night last week that, oh, we have a commitment to keep the school open, but then that's kind of inconsistent with what is being described as our school populations are declining. We have to do something. But then if you do something, you've left the school with 42 students. So that doesn't sound consistent with what you're trying to do. So perhaps that can be explained what you're going to do in terms of your commitment to Benson. So in the report for the future, proposed innovation plan describes that the schools no longer fully support the existing or future educational programs that the community desires for their children. And look for any sort of documentation for that claim, other than it sounds good. Is there a survey that would show it? I don't know where that comes from. Because when I hear people talk about the education quality in Orwell, I hear a lot of, yay, excellent, this will satisfy. Or I hear a specific thing about a high school, that we could use that, but I'll hear those things, but they don't necessarily jive with what the overall picture is that you guys are describing. This is a little bit more of a tricky one, because this is going to get to a metric of how you guys determine success. So, like it or not, test scores are an evaluative tool for determining whether a school is successful. I don't agree with that, but that's just what it is. So, if we've got middle school scores right now, and you spend $23 million on a new facility, what are you hoping to achieve? Are you anticipating that you're going to get a bump up in scores? Are you stay flat? How are we going to evaluate that money as well spent? Based off of that metric that everybody clings to. I feel like that should be answered as an important factor, because I don't necessarily think you can get those scores up with that kind of money, but we'll get to my opinion later on that. Lastly, was one of the proposed benefits of consolidation was the ability to move teachers around to solve holes and provide opportunities in the district from school to school. Let's say a STEM class wasn't offered at Benson for the 7th and 8th graders, but it was offered in Castleton. That could be moved around and offered at the Benson or at Orwell. Is that being proposed as an option? I haven't seen anything like that. So perhaps that could be answered in the future. So now we get to my opinion part. The sports program does not need an artificial turf. I was explained that it would be, besides the additional cost, that every 10 years would be $500,000 in maintenance. That strikes me as an incredible amount of money. Second, the arts, music, drama, plays, physical arts. I feel like it's going to be shortchanged by moving it into a facility. I didn't see any plans for an auditorium. When the students get together and they're playing and bearing their souls out with their music, and it's in a gym, and the echo is terrible. They come away with it going, this sounds awful, this sounds awful. And shaky about it. I really think we should dedicate some time to that.
There is one in there. There is an auditorium in the plans.
Full new auditorium? Okay, so that's a good thing to have. I really think that we'd like to see that as something that we spend our time and effort on focusing on those things. Because when I think about athletics, I love sports. I grew up playing sports, follow sports religiously. Our kids aren't going to be professional sports players. It's a remarkably rare where you are in this country that becomes an athlete professionally. But there are professional musicians, there are professional artists, there are people that get involved in marketing, drawing, animation. All these things are born of the arts program. We'd really like to see the school focus on that quite a bit.
Julie, can I address that really quickly?
Yeah, he talked.
Dan, I appreciate that point, and that was raised to me a couple of different times at the meeting. For those of you who weren't there, the new facility does include expanded performance space, and I actually, after the whole thing was done, I talked directly to Eddie about the question that you're raising about a bigger performance space. Specifically, because somebody had said, well, there's no new performance space being proposed. I was like, wait a minute, because obviously my daughter, musician, the whole thing, right? So what Eddie said is that the Fairhaven gym right now is acoustically one of the best rooms he's played. That's according to the music guy, right? So he says, as far as he'd love to have a 500-person auditorium. Sure. Is that something that this district can afford? No. So the performance space would have to be enormous to fit like the full orchestra. And if I'd encourage you to talk to Ed directly about this, I'm just relating what he said to me. It would have to be humongous to fit orchestra and chorus for these big performances. So he said to me that he was comfortable having the larger performances in the gymnasium. The space that they're planning for the theater and the other smaller stuff is built to be performances in the round as well. And then there was a brief discussion afterwards about whether or not there's I don't know if you've ever been to Town Hall Theater in Middlebury. There's these bleachers, they can go out and then can get pushed back up against the wall. We had a brief discussion about that afterwards with some of the other staff members. So I am super sensitive to what you're saying, and I actually had a discussion with him directly. So I would encourage you to reach out to Eddie directly to talk to him about that.
It's interesting because I definitely respect Eddie's opinion on the music. I was trained that way, but yeah, to me it's noticeable. Big in places with better so the last one is actually the two of them. You got two major needs: the physical plant of the high school and Orwell Village School. Both physical plant needs. Those things have been obvious for years. Those are absolutely critical. Middle school is a desire. It is as described earlier, I'm not sure you're going to get the benefits from it that are quantifiable in terms of you've got your metrics. So that's a desire. But once you build that thing, you cannot go back. You can hold off on that idea of middle school for 5 years, 10 years. And at that point, you can say, you know what? We really need to build that facility. You won't have missed the boat. That's not a boat that sails away as a one-time only option. But if you build it and you come back 10 years down the line with $23 million, it's at the same scores and tests, you go, what the heck? We could have done this without spending $23 million. So that brings me to the last question. You have to proceed why not fencing? Why not make fencing to this school? You have a facility there. It may need some modifications, but sure as in heck the amount of modifications that you would need to build a brand new school. It would be a commitment to the community events. Because in light of what I said earlier about the school having a population size of estimated 42 students, you've got a commitment to build, to have a middle school there. To me, that says we are absolutely committed to community events. But I don't feel like the question of 42, that student population really raised in my mind. At some point, that is going to be an issue. So those are my comments. Certainly, I've written them out, so if you were interested in having them in the record, you can have them, definitely give them quite a bit to chew on. And know that after the meeting, I talked to a lot of different people, a lot of people shared this with me. Certainly, I'm sure there are people that disagree with me completely, but that's the part about the opinion part of it. And be clear that it is what it is. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd just like to talk, and Dan, thank you for coming in, and your comments are awesome comments, okay? I've been on high school board since 2002-ish. We've talked about a middle school since 2002. So it's not something that we're just bringing up and talking about. It has been a conversation point for 18 years. And I would have loved to have my kids in a 7th and 8th grade combined school. And that boat sailed for me and for them. I would like to see it for the next generation of kids.
Yeah, and I'm torn because I went to, I was done with elementary school in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade with my middle school. I definitely see benefits. But I also know that there's a lot of research that's out there that's growing that documents that 7th and 8th graders do well in that K-8 model and benefit from that being the top in the 8th grade. I mean, I've seen firsthand the benefits, I think, of the 8th graders in Norwell. Yeah, there's some things that are drawbacks, but I think there's solvable drawbacks. But I see the kids being treated with respect that would be lost as it being mixed in with bigger. And the 8th graders are, that's a wonderful time. And I think there's huge benefits to being that top outfit.
And I do appreciate your comments, and I try to disagree respectfully with you, and I don't always do it, and I apologize for that because that's not fair to you. The comments you all made are excellent, and I do appreciate you making them. And I do appreciate you taking the time to come out here. Were there any other issues, questions, comments that came up in your discussions afterwards? Because I don't see a whole lot of any other folks from Orwell that I recognize that you can feel like you're comfortable relaying, or those sort of encapsulated?
The ones that I definitely heard was the Archbishop Prayer. Yeah. And then the middle school is much more of an iffy one, but the people that I spoke to were opposed to it.
And the arts center as well.
That's more of my own personal, get your opinion on that.
I've heard that from a couple of
The middle school one is one of those, why I prefaced it with the idea of how are you going to measure success? Because I think the question of the process is huge. And if you can, I can even, you can go back to another way to look at it. It's like, okay, you look at Orwell School Day and you say, okay, this is the amount of time we're spending in this class, this class, this class. How would that differ in an 8th grade setting or a 7th grade setting under a new middle school? So that's and I know there's some documentation in the report of talking about the two different models, but how is that going to improve? Not just it being different, but how is it going to improve?
And some of those may be hard metrics to track, other than test scores. How do you measure some of those?
Spend that kind of money, that's when the metrics are usually in.
Oh, no, I agree. I hear you.
What I would like to see is in that central middle school is the capability of taking 10 kids who are excelling or far exceeding where they're currently at, and giving them opportunities to learn at a different level. I feel as a whole educational system, we do not do a good job of pushing the top 10%. And I think this gives us more of an opportunity to allow us to bring in a teacher from the high school that can teach at the 7th and 8th grade level, because the licensure is 7 through 12. And it would allow us to push those kids a little bit harder if that's what.
I'll give you, look at 8th grade in algebra. And so in Norwell, the students do not have that option to take it as a class. So they have to take it online. But they also have to take their math, the regular math, in addition to that. And so that's a tougher blow versus just if you were in the middle school and had algebra offered in school, you would be taking that regular math. And so it'd be a little easier for them, yeah. But that extra load teaches them how to manage their time after school, how to manage expectations going forward, how to meet what's expected of them. Because if they get behind on that schedule, it starts to multiply, and the effects of that start to snowball on them. And then they get to a point where they're like, oh shoot. But the ones that succeed through that, I've learned in life, give me some great lessons.
My kids did it. They received an hour or two of FaceTime a week. I think it was an hour, maybe even less. Not a big fan. They did well. They both passed it, and they both moved on. But it was not an ideal for an 8th grader to be having to deal with that type of situation. It is hard. It was hard.
So thank you, Dan, for coming. We really appreciate it. I wish there were more people that would come and lay it out like that. It's very helpful. I appreciate that. Can I have a copy? Because I just wrote it all down, so it'd be great if I just had a copy. All right. Awesome. Yep, thank you. I saw. Yep. Do you still have a public comment?
First of all, I want to thank you because I think you put all of our concerns very eloquently. Second of all, I too am stuck on the consolidation to a centralized middle school model because I work in a 7 through 12 school and have watched it fail over and over and over again. I have watched us try to create a 7 through 12, a separate 7-8 within the 7 through 12, and recreate itself year after failed attempt year. Inevitably, what happens is that on paper, we have bubbles, and then we have dips in population. And I think your question about how do we project is one that I tried to ask the other night. Eventually, on paper, when you have 2 pods, that's what we're calling them, pods, for 7th grade and 2 pods for 8th grade, and then there's a low year, what ends up happening is we rift people. And then we go down to 1 7th grade team and we just consolidate the kids. So now there's 100 kids on the 7th grade team because there's 2 years where we have low numbers. And then we end up stuck in this too many kids, too few resources circumstance, and kids from all different schools are coming, and I have watched it be a failed model for many, many years, and I really feel like most families in this district want their children in a small school environment. We live here because we want a small community. We chose to raise our families here because of that. And to take all of our 7th and 8th graders at a colossally challenging time for them and just throw them all together. There's research out there that speaks to bullying. There's research out there that speaks to the fact that K to 8 is far better for self-esteem, for mentoring, for the lack of bullying, for a more well-united community feel. And to take that away and put all of those 7th and 8th graders who are dealing with all of those prepubescent puberty issues and self-esteem issues and all of that, it becomes a shark tank. And it becomes a really difficult social thing to navigate if your
just building them a building to put them all together so we have more money to fix a building that needs it. It feels like backward design at its worst. If we're just creating a building because we need to fix another building, and so we'll do this too, it doesn't feel like it's really serving the needs of what middle schoolers actually would do best with. It doesn't feel like I didn't hear anything about the curriculum being any different, so I can't imagine the outcome for testing would be any different. And I still don't understand why we have to take from every community and lose from every community just to fix a building that needs it. I don't think that it is in the best interest of our children.
Thank you.
From a parent perspective and a longtime educator perspective in the 7 through 12 design.
Thank you. Can you just state your name so Bonnie knows? You know her? Okay, awesome. All right, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. All right, so we are going to move on to correspondence, which we have none, right? Right. And so we need to move into executive session for a student hearing. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
With high school administration. So we are on to committee reports. Policy, Rebecca.
We talked about the stipend and participation of board members. We are still going to revise that and bring it back to the board in January.
January, February.
To be started brand new in March.
Right.
So we are sticking with the old policy until that comes in.
We didn't want to do a new one halfway through the year. So we're going to stick with the policy, and then for the new, when we reorganize in March, then we'll start a new policy then. That's the goal. Maybe that really.
Yeah. We talked about the payment to the other towns, but that didn't go anywhere. We don't need it. And we talked a lot about the open house.
Building and grounds.
So our first topic was the fiscal '21 budget. Chris provided us a list of projects that are in need for fiscal year '21. Looking at those projects, the list of projects is about 900,000 if you looked at all of them. But as we move forward, we'll probably be looking at around $500,000 to $600,000. And we'll have to slim some of those down, and if the bond doesn't pass, then we may have to shift some money to the other, the Benson and, or excuse me, Orwell and Fairhaven High School, just for work that's needed to be done. Next, we went to the innovation project. We talked a little bit about the open house. We talked about some discussions about the cafeteria and the fact that we have 2 kitchens and it may be cheaper to build that way, to have 2 kitchens, but operationally year to year it's going to be more expensive to run 2 kitchens than to run 1 kitchen. Just the equipment replacement, electric usage of freezers and refrigerators, in addition to the cost of having the people actually cook the meals. We talked about the turf field, and there was quite a few people that talked about the turf field and that being excessive at the meeting. I was the person listening to those conversations. We then talked about the turf field potentially being the softball field being part of that, and that could potentially be an extra cost, so that was outside of the Wednesday meeting. We talked about if the middle school would move forward. We talked about, would it match the current high school? Would it be brick like the current school, or would it be more of a stucco? And then we also talked about the roof, and it's my understanding, based on what Chris was telling us, a flat roof may be less expensive going forward, as opposed to having a pitched roof with, you know, metal or whatever. He wanted a recommendation. We're not really roofers. We really don't know, so we kind of have to go by what they're telling us. We talked about the Orwell, the added building in Orwell, and kind of the design, what we were looking at there. And there was some question on whether we wanted to kind of match what Orwell currently has with the stairs, and we do not want to have stairs. If we can keep it single level and a ramp, it's going to be a lot cheaper to, with no elevators, yada, 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 that works. So that's all I have. Ms. Annie?
I just have a question. So is it really true that every 10 years, $500,000 for turf field up, like, keep it going? Where did he
The
get that?
turf fields do have a limit on their lifetime. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but
Because Rutland's had theirs for more than 10 years.
depends on the amount of usage and stuff too of the playing surface.
Castleton's replacing theirs now, and it's been in 10 years.
They play a lot of stuff on theirs.
Play a lot more,
They do play a lot more.
but
Yes.
it's been 10 years, so I'm not sure, is it play or is it UV?
Use, right.
Could be just
Weather.
weather, and, yeah.
That'd be just nice to get a little bit more information.
I mean, that's all information we can get together
Yeah.
for the Building and Grounds Committee, and then
Yeah.
really when you guys make your final decision on what we're doing for our bonds,
Yep.
keep it in there or not, take it out, that's up to the board when we get to that point.
Oh, that was another conversation. We did talk about looking at everything, every little piece, and saying, all right, well, what's this part gonna cost? What's it gonna cost for a new heating system? What's it gonna cost for the turf field? And so Chris is putting that together. It's not fully together yet, but it's something that is gonna be, we're gonna be able to look through and go, you know what, really $1.5 million or $2 million, or whatever it comes out to of the turf, is that really worth going forward with it, or in knowing that it's going to be $500,000 every 10 years? Those are things that we've got to think about.
Just one question on that. We're obviously running out of time here to make these decisions. So who's making these decisions regarding all these details? Is it the Buildings and Grounds Committee? Are those decisions going to come to the full board? If it comes to the full board, it's going to take more time for us all to come together and make these little decisions. So
Which
how does this
decisions,
process final and get finished up?
What specific decisions are you?
Well, turf or no turf, or one cafeteria versus two cafeterias versus, one story, 2-story on the middle school, all these little things.
I think it's building.
Driving the ship from here to the bond.
It's building and grounds. So if you're interested in that, Building and Grounds brings their recommendation to
Right.
us.
Yeah.
They do not bring choices to us.
And we're getting there. I mean, we're
Right.
pretty close with all the details. I mean, first or second story, that's already been decided. I mean, the plan is a 1-story for the middle school. But the turf field, I mean, that'll be a recommendation from the Building and Grounds Committee. I think there's gonna be a lot coming together in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Hopefully at the, Brooke, was it December 16th?
Yeah,
Was that the next Building and Grounds?
right.
Yep. So I think there'll be a lot at that one, and like I said at the meeting, hopefully I'll have that big Excel sheet that has all of those numbers in it.
Can you do that for the entire board?
Yeah.
Or, well, the only hard part is, though, is that you can't be emailing Chris your thoughts if you're not gonna attend the Buildings and Grounds, like, we
I'm
gotta.
just looking for the information.
I know.
If I can get the information
Yeah.
and I have something to say, I'll show up at Buildings and Grounds.
There you go, fantastic, thank you.
I was going to say that. Is there any other meeting going on that night?
Well, we have a board meeting, but what I said to Julie earlier, or later last week, we have a board meeting December 10th and then December 16th. I don't know that you need 2 board meetings less than a week apart, so maybe you could just have an extended Building and Grounds Committee on the 16th.
And if that's the case, everybody that wants to be involved should be there.
Correct. And I think the architect is also willing to come down.
He can come down if we need him. That's up to you guys.
We should probably decide that then at the end of this meeting.
There just seems to be a lot of moving pieces. So when is the architect going to give us the final drawing with the final cost estimates? Does that happen December 16th? Does that happen 3 weeks later?
Maybe. I mean, that's why I was asking about roof structures tonight and facade and all that stuff, so I can get that back to him, so we can get the actual cost estimate done on the project, which we have not gotten done yet. So I'm hopeful that we can get that done and back to you at
I mean,
some
this
point.
idea with the cafeteria is a big decision, because we started with one kitchen, then it
Yep.
changed to 2 kitchens, and now people are at the meeting tonight are suggesting that we want to go back to a single kitchen. Well, John needs to know this so we can work it into the drawings. Does
He'll
that
know
happen
it.
by December 16th?
In the
Can
morning.
we change our minds again?
Well, I'll tell you, my understanding was it was one kitchen, until I showed up at that meeting, at the innovation meeting on Wednesday night, and I'm like, what happened to the one kitchen?
Yeah.
I mean, they're separated.
Yep.
So I didn't know that it even changed.
Well, let's put it this way, we have to warn this January 25th. 21st. So we will have cost estimates before that. I mean, that's the way it has to work. So I don't have a calendar in front of me, but whatever the Monday is before, the meeting before the 21st.
So that's our deadline, that's what we're working towards, and hopefully we can get to that point. If not, it'll have to be a bond vote after town meeting.
Yep. Yep. So that's the time frame. All right, Innovation Committee update.
I think that goes, Trevor just probably did part of that, and I think it
And we
goes
did
with the
too.
next one
Okay.
around.
So feedback from
the
the
open house.
Yep, from the open house. Yep.
Does feedback matter at this point? I mean, are we going to change our minds based upon what a handful of residents said last Wednesday?
Well, I think it's really feedback around the format. Do we want to repeat that kind of format again? How would we tweak it? We did get some good questions that I know we're putting answers together on. So I think that type of feedback, what information do folks need? What additional information can we provide? I mean, what did you learn? I mean, I think I learned several things from that evening, but, just through my conversation. So I think it's just right now a conversation about what we learned and how we can tweak it going forward. If that format worked, do we want to repeat that format with maybe, I know Josh mentioned something to me about having a segment on middle school curriculum and,
Segment on finance.
Yeah, so having longer sessions, but maybe less of them, more targeted in specific areas based on the feedback you heard on that night, so.
I mean, I'll jump in. I mean, I thought it was great. I mean, I really do. I thought it really worked well. I thought the questions that I got from residents were thoughtful. The people that showed up, I think, had thought about it, and they really wanted information, and I think that the more information we can give them, the better. There were some areas, and I took some notes, that I did get some specific questions about the art facilities and whether those were going to be sufficient. I think that's important, to the extent that we can have somebody there who's in the art program to explain that in more detail would be great, because I think that's the performing arts stuff. I got a couple of questions from folks in Orwell and actually elsewhere about curriculum having to do with, I'm dating myself, VOTEC, right? Whatever Stafford does now, whatever you call that. So whether we can get more trades education into Fairhaven, so that kids don't have to schlep over to Stafford to get that kind of education. Kids who want to go, who maybe aren't cut out for college or aren't interested in college. I mean, Orwell's got a lot of folks who work on cars and work on farms and want to do that kind of stuff and maybe aren't college bound. It seems like the only choices kids have is either go to college or go into the military. Right, there's not a lot of middle ground in terms of good training programs that we can give them for the trades, at least. But that's my point exactly.
It's pretty cool to go to college and be able to frame out a house, too.
Right,
That's an advantage.
right, and frankly, I would rather know how to frame out a house than go to college at this point. But you know, at this point, but anyway, so take some of that curriculum that Stafford offers now and bring it closer to home so that our kids don't have to go all the way to That's, I'm just bringing that up as a point. Then the other question that people asked is, what happens if we vote and the bond doesn't pass? You know, what happens? And I say, well, you know, it's kind of anybody's guess at that point. We either vote on it, or we, you know, bring it back and we figure out how to retool it. And for folks who are in Orwell, that could mean that people come, the Orwell piece gets taken out. Or it could mean that the middle school piece gets taken out, or whatever. So there was, I think, a little bit of confusion about maybe about how the Orwell piece, and again, this is because I'm from Orwell, that, you know, where that was that a separate bond, or was it part of the same bond? And I tried to make it really clear that it was all part of the package. So those are the things I got. Now, Dan had asked me some of these questions before. I thought that his questions were thoughtful, and I think we should try to answer them that specifically, because I think I got several questions that he had.
Well, we've started a document with the questions from that evening, and we can certainly add those to that document.
Yep, thank you.
As far as the format of the meeting, I did get some feedback just from people saying that they did not necessarily want to walk so much between locations, but they thought that it was a little bit closer together.
Yeah, I mean, I think the intent though was so that folks could.
I agree that
high
it was
school.
important for them to walk and see the building, but that was something.
Yeah.
But they didn't, you know, people that were specifically interested in one aspect of it, and although I feel they needed to see all aspects, they themselves felt they really only were there for focus on one aspect, and that was what they wanted more information on. But I think giving everybody's getting information on all, so that was just the feedback that I got. So maybe just mix it up for the next one, just to hit people that perhaps get more information on one area they're interested in, because we already tried it the other area.
Yep. Cover.
I don't know if there's been any conversation as to how we would implement and how we would do the construction while kids are taking classes, and I don't know if there's been any discussion about that.
We had some of that.
Yeah.
We've had some discussion on that. I just think unless we know the bond is gonna pass, we're not gonna put a detailed implementation plan in place, but, I mean, we did talk about building the middle school. The high school students would probably, move into the middle school section while the high school section is being renovated. That's why the middle school wouldn't be open for the college. But, so we'd have to develop an implementation plan once we had our, builder, you know, hired and those pieces, but there would be a clear plan. It's just we would probably build the middle school piece first, be able to utilize that for our high school kids the first year.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. I'm not sure any other way to do that easily.
There was a member of our audience that had gone through the revamping of the high school in the 90s and said that the schedule was actually heavily manipulated.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Point.
1973, A, B, C, D, there was one group who wasn't there the whole time.
Wow.
And we just rotated through, so you had 6-week rotations. That's what we did.
On the procedure or the way the meeting was, I think we need to somehow try to get the groups more even, at least where Amy and I were.
yeah.
We had a
Yeah.
couple of groups that came through with 2 people, and then we got
Yeah.
45.
So
And that was
we
talked about that.
We talked about, that when folks come in, we would just hand them a card with their group, pre-established group that they're gonna move with already on it, and also not have a session in the same
Gathering
room that
between
you're
people.
gathering the larger groups,
The flow
so.
was cumbersome at best.
Yeah.
And then, I mean,
And people who don't know the high school didn't know.
yeah, I mean, and where Amy and I were, I mean, you couldn't have picked a better classroom, I think, to show how bad things are. But in looking at the drawings and stuff, I mean, I think when people start looking at things, it seemed like some people really got hung up on the spaces for kids to socialize. They're like, what? We're paying for this? You know, as it's been brought out here tonight, you know, turf field, people, when you know, they're not going to vote against the bond because there isn't a turf field in there. You're going to have a lot of people that might vote against it because there is a turf field in there. You know, and then there were other things, you know, questions that we got, like, where's the playground? It's like, this is a middle school. I think we've gotten past the playground, but that was a concern. Where's the playground for the kids? And then we had somebody who was really upset about the fact that if we bring the middle school here, that there's going to be more opportunities if there's a shooting or something for more people to be hurt. And I don't know who that lady was.
I think we addressed that
But,
concern.
I mean, we tried to address that concern, but it's like, some of those things that kept coming up like that was just like, I'm not quite sure where this is coming from.
You both? Angela, did you have
I
something?
just, as for, is there any events going on in the schools in the next month or so that would be also an opportunity for us to present, like any concerts or anything that would be good to have informational sessions to kind of tag on to, where there would be a large group of people who may not just be the people that would come to an informational night, but where you can also get the information out to have 10 minutes in front of the entire group to talk about the project and give them information.
If you just had a table with information in the lobby, would that people?
Well, you can make an announcement, like whoever's there could come
Right.
up as a school board rep and say, hey, just want to let you know, we're
So-
here to talk.
So I can work with the principals and put together a calendar, and then if, you know, we can sign up
They
for
say,
nights.
oh,
and
here,
we can
this
put
is a great,
together an
event to
information,
be at.
You know, packet for folks.
They can just go see Tara in the bank, right?
Oh. I talk to everybody every day about it, just about.
I had a couple of questions about why it's all together, why we don't separate the bonds out, the middle school, Orwell, and the infrastructure, so we could vote on them separately. We already agreed to do it all at once, I know that, but that's what the question I had.
Right.
And another thing, I think we have all these questions. I had one group that we sort of tried to answer those questions, and there were some tough questions, what have you, and they said, well, you know, we can't get these answers. And I didn't know if maybe we just have one meeting where we would invite all the people in and set up like half hour, 45 minutes for each project and discuss that, open forum, let them ask questions from the floor, and get everybody in that forum, get educated at every aspect of what we're talking about. Rather than having these stations, we've gone through the station stuff, I think, and I don't know.
I actually did have somebody recommend for something very similar to that, kind of a direct question and answer. If
Yeah.
they came in with a question, submit it on a card, have them you know, collated,
Yeah.
and then maybe take a 20-minute tour and then come back and hit them with answers, was what somebody had made a suggestion to me, very similar idea.
Yeah, okay. All right, we can work on that. Yeah.
4 hours, but I mean,
Hey.
we're there to answer questions, you know.
I still think we need a detailed answer as to why the other schools won't work, because that keeps coming back.
All right, I've got that on.
Yep.
Anybody else? Any other feedback?
Yeah, I had, one of the questions I kept getting was what is gonna happen to the current Orwell school building, the town hall building? Everybody keeps calling it the town hall building. So is it gonna get knocked down, or are demolition costs included in the bond?
Yes,
You know,
yes,
Yes.
yes.
would
yes,
would the school sell it to the town for $1, you know, this whole thing? So, you know, so those, and you had some people show up at the select board meeting you were at, so.
So that's, and we're probably going to get more questions next time. But while we were having our last meeting 2 weeks ago, there was a whole group, there were a group of people who descended upon the select board in Orwell, wanting them to demand that we turn that that building over to them, that you couldn't touch it, it's a historic site, and all that. And the chairman of the select board said, I'm sure, he says, well, I will check with them, but I'm sure that they will sell you that building for $1. You just need to find a place to move it to. And so, but that's gonna be a point, and so that whole, we need a definite answer on, is that ugly monstrosity, is it a historic building?
No.
Can we bulldoze the damn thing, or what? Because
We've been told it's part of a historic district, but that building is not a historic building.
We need
That
to be
we
real clear
can-
about that, though.
We've had 2 different attorneys give us,
Okay.
you know, their thoughts on it.
But
We
the-
can double check again.
the
We can
chair
use
of
the word
planning,
bulldoze?
the chair,
What?
You can use the word bulldoze, because that's an effective word. It's going to be bulldozed.
the chair of the planning commission was the one really spearheading this.
Why don't we just give it to the fire department to burn?
Hopefully,
Well, reach out and ask.
you know, but
And along with buildings, I had a conversation with somebody that night about the Castle Hunt Village School. Whether or not we're gonna, if we do lease or whatever, we're gonna have to put a lot of money into it in order to keep it up. I mean, we have to decide that, what kind of lease we think we might wanna sign if Castleton University is really gonna use it, utilize it.
And then one other question for you to follow up on that, which is, will the community be allowed to use, because that's where we hold elections.
Yeah.
So will the community be allowed to use the gymnasium for things like elections?
Yes, the
I
building.
said no.
They do now.
Exactly
No,
how
the
they use it
building,
now.
the original building use parameters.
They use
are
the gym
still
now
in place.
to
They use the
do
gym
elections.
now, so nothing would change with that.
Well, that's what I told them. I
Yep.
just wanted to make sure.
All right, any last comments? All right, moving on to resignation. I need a motion to accept the resignation, please.
So moved.
Any comments? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
There's only one, right? Yes.
Yep, extracurricular rock climbing team, you guys all saw that in there too? We need to approve clubs, right? Is that why that's in there?
Yeah, 'cause it's a brand-new club that we don't, that's not in existence.
Okay. So I need a motion to accept this club, please,
Can I ask a question real quick?
after we motion in second.
So moved.
Second. Yes, you may ask a question.
Ask a question?
Discussion.
Where are you doing the rock climbing, Josh?
Green Mountain Rock Climbing. I would like to approach Castleton as well, because their rock wall is totally I work at it as well. It's not-
Totally
It's totally underutilized, so it'd be pretty sweet. That's it.
Okay.
Julie, can you have
Any other
Patrick do some training on that?
You know, my son dislocated both his ankles at the Castleton Rock Climbing Gym.
Heard about it.
Like,
I
they
didn't know it was
faced
him.
each other. It was my son.
Yeah.
Castleton Village School.
So, yeah, that was beautiful. You know, no longer rock climbs. But anyways.
What schools is this for?
Castleton Village School is the one who put in the request.
Yes.
I'm hoping we will from other schools as well. I don't know if that's.
Yeah, it doesn't say here that it's just for Castleton.
It doesn't say, that's
It
why I
just says
asked.
grades intended to participate.
Yeah, because they circumnavigated this with a wreck, but this would actually make it more,
Didn't we just get a thing home?
Is that wrong?
We did get a thing.
From the rec, though.
Or was that your lifetime activity?
That's your lifetime activity.
All I know was, it was like $275. That's what I remember.
No, it's totally different.
Totally different. I don't know where that came from. I don't know. Any other questions, comments? About it, no? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. All right, now we are on principals report, I believe. Am I right? I'm right. Principals report. So, thank you for coming tonight, you guys. I know that we had changed the way things were, but some board member had some questions. So, we just wanted to ask questions. So, board, if you have questions, ask away. Well,
The report that was-
did everybody, all right, I guess nobody's not, all right, so did everybody, no, I want to talk about what you sent to everybody. Did you send that to everybody?
The board members.
The board members, the policy.
Sent the policy to everyone.
Did everybody get that?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? Right. Anybody have any questions about that? Do you want me to summarize why we're here?
This is A34.
Yes. It's A34. Everybody's all right? Everybody looking at it quickly?
Yeah.
Basically, if I summarize it, says that Brooke has, the relationship between Brooke and the principals, they determines their participation at board meetings. Is that what it says? So when that was brought to us and we were having that conversation, there were people on the board that felt like that part of the conversation was missing because you weren't here to ask any questions about how you felt about your relationship with the board and how you felt about that determination. We got the policy after that board meeting. The policy got sent to us. It was not before that board meeting. So does anybody have any different concerns or any different thoughts that they would like to share with the principals at all?
With regard to the policy?
Yeah, with regard to their attendance at our meetings.
Well, one of the things and just to throw myself under the bus.
That's okay.
Right, I was one of the people who said, well, why aren't the principals here? So I'm sorry that it's 8:30. I owe you all a beer. But one of the things, and Josh actually raised this after I brought up the original point, which was we should have you guys here so that we can ask you what you, if need, from us. Like what concerns that you have as the principals that you think are worth raising to us, not just in this written report, which is sort of a conglomeration, as I understand it, of everybody's, you pick a topic and give it to us once for our board meetings. But following up on that, is there anything that you guys feel like you need to bring to our attention?
First thing I want to say is,
Be nice.
we trust Brooke and her team. And we feel really comfortable working through her to you. If we have any concerns or things that we need, we're going to tell her. She's going to tell you. I've been doing this for about 20 years. And I've seen many really big problems with board members and principals talking directly. Not in an environment like this, but behind the scenes, it's really sticky. And I think if I speak to my colleagues, we like the relationship where Brooke is the buffer between us and you all.
I mean, we meet monthly with Casey. I feel like I meet almost daily somehow with Crystal. We meet monthly with Brooke. So any concerns you have about anything in our buildings or our communities, we're relaying to those people in those positions to bring forward to you.
I would change the buffer to the conduit. I feel like we love you all and we want to be engaging with you all, but quite frankly, you know you guys don't have jobs just like we do, but we're in 7:30 tomorrow morning, game on, talking to parents, a lot of times heated, and that's what we're thinking about right now. We're not thinking about your business. Your business is different than ours. And we want to just give it all we got during the day. And we don't want to have to worry about what you guys are all doing here. You're all putting your time in, and we respect that. And we just want to go back to work and do our thing.
I think that's awesome. Really, I have no frustration or animosity in any sort, but it would have been nice to know that before because we didn't really know where you guys were coming from. I think I can speak for the board that a perspective from the front line is extremely valuable. And, you know, I may have misinterpreted it, but it felt as, I was getting this vibe that perhaps you folks were feeling as though you didn't have a voice in the school board circle here. And I just want you to know that you do. And maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but it's a super valuable perspective, because, and I love what you're saying about Brooke. That's awesome. But you guys are in the trenches, and that is different. I know that it is. And sometimes you don't even think of it until you're here. And yeah, I would say that.
I'd like to reiterate that. I mean, in my 15 years or so on the high school board, principal was always at the table with us and always there. We were able to ask him questions, or her, I guess, more her questions. And it was just a very valuable input. And it wasn't always the principal. Sometimes it was the vice principal. And so it was always good information to have them there. Our role has kind of changed as a board. The board has changed the way we administer. And so we don't need to get into the trenches with you guys, but it's good to hear what you have to say, and, you know, especially when we're making policies that really affect you. And not to take anything away from Brooke, but Brooke is going to bring her recommendation, and it might not take into everybody's account, and it's good to know what all you guys think.
Just to piggyback on that, is like I haven't been on the school board for like half my life. Right? Not quite. A third. So this is all kind of new to me, and I'm always looking for more information, and more information for me is always better. And we're like, this is new for everybody. Like, there's a lot of people in our communities who don't even know how many people are on the board, let alone how many representatives they have, let alone what it is that we're doing. So with the consolidation, that's been, you know, it was a 2.5-year struggle, and now here we are, we're trying to implement it. And I think that there's a lot of questions that I have about things that we do that you guys know a lot more about, right? So we hear, you know, as school board members and as parents, we hear a lot of, okay, like 7th and 8th, like the 7th and 8th, the middle school idea, right? The one group that I haven't heard anybody say anything about is what the principals think about a 7th, 8th grade.
It's different. It's not the small little boards anymore, so I think it's a learning curve for everybody. I think it's a big part of the discussion for us, and that's what happens.
Right.
Okay.
And what we were saying, sometimes it's awkward not to throw it out there. We don't want to get into a one-upping or a whack-a-mole with each other. We really feel like we are a very unified work front. And if we disagree, we're going to do it in private with Brooke. And she's going to bring forward whatever the recommendation or consensus is to you. So what can be hard is we don't want to stand up here and say what I'm doing, what you're doing, because then you're compelled to say, oh my God, I'm not doing that, I'm doing something different. And we have worked so hard to be a team that trusts each other, and we're committed to all of our students in every single building and moving them forward. So we feel like it wouldn't be appropriate for us to say what I need to do. To tell me what all of our students need. So we're trying not to become singled out at a board meeting, because it's very uncomfortable for us, because we put a lot of work in behind the scenes to agree or to disagree, but do it respectfully, and to realize what we're trying to do is move every kid in every school forward. So for us, it just feels somewhat uncomfortable. We don't want to be asked specifics in front of a large group, because we work so hard with Brooke to do what's best for all students to move forward that way.
So let me ask a question then. Would it be appropriate for, like, if I want to know, oh my God, we got a bunch of principals in here who have a bunch of 6th and 7th and 8th graders, what do they think? Would the appropriate conduit be for me to go, hey Brooke, at the next meeting you have with all the principals, why don't you ask them about what they think of the 7th and 8th grade middle school, and then come back and then tell us about it. Okay.
Correct.
We
I mean,
applaud that dialogue.
yeah.
And last week, we actually met around that dialogue, because if this bond does not pass, we still have to educate our middle school students, and we want to provide as much of an equitable opportunity as we can. So we're scheduling together. We're looking at what is our philosophy, regardless of where it's happening. What's the next best thing? We do believe in the middle school model, and we've had that conversation many, many times.
And I think, as somebody who's trying to sort of, trying to explain that to the community at large, I think to have that information to say, hey, look, we've talked to the principals, we've talked to the educators, because we had an educator in here who says 7th and 8th grade model doesn't work, right? And I'm sure she's not the only person in the room who thinks that. And for us to be able to say, we have, there is a united front of educators, the people who are in charge of educating all of our kids are all sitting in a room trying to figure this out, and they're behind it, I think that's compelling. And I think that that's helpful information for us to have.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we can do that, but every policy you see has gone to the administrators first. So they give me the feedback, and then I bring it to the policy committee. So everything that you see at this board meeting, they've already discussed. What?
I think that, being on the school board for quite a while, I think that the boards in the past have been very guilty of micromanaging. And that's not our job. And that's something that I think Brooke has made great strides in getting the board to step back. But I think there's still a desire out there, to try to micromanage this. And it's something that the board just needs to step back from. And we got bigger fish to fry. And we set the policy, we hire the superintendent, and we prepare the budget. And as far as the day-to-day running of the school and where you're buying your toilet paper this year, I mean, that's nothing that we need to be getting involved in.
Patty?
I was going to say, obviously I have the same job, so I know that it is really important to have, I think from a consolidation standpoint, to have a group of individuals who are working through, and I would use the word conduit as well, but, working through Brooke that way, because I think Amy said it very clearly. I'm sure you all have some different ideas that you bring to the table, and then you kind of, juggle through that and make some determinations based on what all the kids need, and then that's what Brooke delivers to us. And I do think that the times when your kids show up like tonight with Castleton's kids, to have a Castleton administrator here, it's their school, they get to welcome the kids in and introduce them in that. I think that's great, because that's really what you want to do anyway. So I think they should continue to do that, but that's 1 or 2 of you out once every 4 months, something of that nature. So that would be my.
Trying to figure out how to phrase this, but I understand the conduit and being a united front, but there is differences between the communities, and there is different needs between the different schools, and so you can't always say that what Orwell needs is the same as what Fairhaven needs. And as a board member, I may have more insight to what Fairhaven needs than what Orwell needs, or more understanding, because my kids go to Fairhaven and not to Orwell. And it's nice to get that perspective, though, or that understanding from sort of the horse's mouth sometime versus just from right, from the conduit, or from just a summarized view. Like I understand Fairhaven has a large transient population. Some people in Orwell may not know that about Fairhaven. So how are we supposed to get that and understand how that affects things like test scores necessarily if it's not something that's sort of discussed? I guess that's part of my question. You know, like how, I guess you're kind of the expert on your school and what you need. How is that supposed to be communicated to us? Is Brooke really going to be the person, do you feel, that's going to be able to bring us those differences between the schools and the needs?
Yeah, and I guess the other thing is, Casey's the one for data and test scores. So you have all these experts in the field, and we work with them constantly. And I'll just say this, as a former board member, I was guilty of it. You get into the minutia stuff that frankly isn't part of the big picture. You are that huge overarching picture. We're dealing with every single expert in their field, and we're doing it as a group. If we have a specific need, we'll go to Brooke. She doesn't deny us going individually to ask for things either. But honestly, it doesn't matter if you know that you have a huge transient population and somebody else might not, because again, we've got to look at what's going to motivate and move all of us.
I know, but I'm afraid that, I guess my point is, I'm not getting it across right. Like, I want to make sure I'm focused on all of the kids, and I understand all of the kids in all of the communities. And do I feel like I have that knowledge of all of the kids in all of the communities? I don't know if I do. Do all of you feel like you have that?
Well, I do, because I've been on the board so long, so yeah.
Have you been on the high school board? So
I have
maybe
been.
you do. I've been on an elementary board for so long, like 10 years or whatever. So I know the elementary school. I don't know the high school. I don't get, Benson issues so much, except I started to learn,
I'm new to this, because we came in a year late, but we've been doing it for 5 months. It's the first time we've talked to you.
That's the point I was going to bring up.
You didn't get anything from us.
Well, that was part of the reason that I raised it, was because, like, I'm new to the board, I didn't even know if we're allowed to ask you guys questions. So you guys sat there in the audience, and then you went home. I'm like, man, why didn't I ask Pat?
I know you laugh, but I felt the exact same way, actually, completely. And I'm a total empath. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, knock yourself out, man.
I'm a total empath to everything that you're saying, but when all this great stuff, these decisions that we're making, you provide like the educational fodder for that. And just to kind of, sometimes I really have no idea what I'm saying, yay or nay. I don't know, because I don't live it. I like to fancy myself understanding my community and possess a little bit of wisdom. However, you do offer a lot. I know we had discussed at the last board meeting the possibility of having you folks come in one at a time when the meeting's at your school or whatever. I know that doesn't go out evenly. I'm aware of that. We'd have to figure that out. And having a Q&A session.
I think
I would really value that. Actually on a line item on the agenda.
And I think if you have questions that you're wanting input from, we're more than happy to provide that.
I think the problem is right now, we don't know what those questions are. Like, we're still.
From each other also. You have experts sitting right at that table about your individual towns. That's where you can learn about what the needs of the community, of each community.
We have experts at the.
And then from that, coming to us about how is the school fulfilling this need? What else?
So, I'm sorry, can you say that again? We have experts, who are the experts from the towns?
Casey, Chris.
Oh,
and then, yeah.
Oh.
So if you want to know about Benson, you can ask me.
Right.
Oh, but I wouldn't have known that about, I knew that because I've been on the board so long. I wouldn't have known that
But if you
about
have
fair.
questions about individual towns, you've got town members sitting there, and you've got data from Casey and Chris Bedway sitting there. And then any questions that you come up with, we all are happy to provide our input on those questions at any time. And I feel like, I haven't said much, I've just been listening. I feel like what I'm hearing from the board is you guys really feel like you want to support us. And I just want to say I really appreciate that. I know that that's coming from a good place. But I think and I hope I can speak for my colleagues, we feel extremely supported.
then she is that conduit.
Oh, boy, Patrick, you're not gonna live that one down.
Done there.
But one thing I think maybe, and like, I'm trained as an attorney. Attorneys don't know anything, right? So that's why we hire experts. And we say, here, you sit here and you tell me what I should know, right? And so that's why I feel like you guys are for us, along with obviously the staff. So maybe I think it would be helpful for me to understand more, and this may fall on you, Brooke, is to say, the principals and I have been talking about this, and here are the differing viewpoints, you know, because I know you guys pretend like you do, that you agree all the time, but I know you don't, right? So, no, I know, but it would be interesting to know, like, what those, you know, what the discussion, without, and I don't, look, I got enough to do in my own life, I don't want to micromanage your guys' jobs, but it'd be interesting for me to understand what my experts are saying about the different topics that we're talking about. Middle school, vaping. What are the elementary schools doing about vaping? We know what the high school is doing about vaping, but I don't know that that there's a coordinated strategy at the middle school. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't, I don't know. Maybe I should just ask Brooke and she'll go, there is, and then I'll say, all right, that's good, but then I want more. Like, I want just a little bit more information about that. So maybe maybe it's incumbent upon me to interface more with my buffer. I'll throw you a bone, Patrick. To understand more of that as well, because I really do. I have an enormous amount of faith in you guys, as somebody who's like hoping that you all are figuring this out, because I know I don't have the expertise to do it, and you know.
So to wrap it all around. So are we okay to move through the rest of this board's tenure, which would be through reorganization, through thing, to follow what Brooke had brought to us, where when we're at their school, they will be there, that we can ask them questions and follow through with anything that we need to follow through with. If you want to know anything else, you will ask Brooke, and Brooke can let you know where things stand. And try that until end of February. Is everybody okay with that? Yes? Okay.
I'd be a no on that.
You'd be a no on that? Okay. Anybody else? I don't think we need to vote because it's a policy, so, yeah, we just follow, so. All right, we're all in the same place? All right, thank you very much for coming tonight, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
And very, very much. Other business, do we have any other business?
Can we send them home now?
Yes, you may go, you don't need to stay, but, I mean, at this point, I mean. I know.
Have a good night. Well, do you want to talk about the board meeting on December 16th?
Yeah, we can do that.
Or do you want to wait till the 10th?
I just have one question.
Under other business?
Under other business.
Okay.
Does anybody, I guess I was concerned at the high school classroom that we were in as far as student safety. There were beakers of different liquids, unlabeled, open, laying around on lab benches, different colors, and it's like, you know, this is an accident waiting to happen. Maybe it's colored water, but.
It was Jell-O.
No. But I've spent enough time in science labs to know that you don't leave unlabeled chemicals and stuff laying around in unmarked containers.
Who's this directed to?
Brooke.
Brooke?
Yeah, so she can check into it.
Left, you could ask him.
Well, Jason doesn't know about unleft chemicals.
Yes, he does.
Oh, and Jason wasn't even
His
here.
building.
So we have Visbit that comes in and does safety reports of our buildings. That is in the safety report. I have shared that with the building principal for them to address.
Did you hear that, Tim? Did you hear that?
I heard that.
Okay, just making sure. All right, so, and then other business.
Can I ask a question
Yep.
on that?
Yep.
And whose responsibility is to make sure that
Well, the teachers report to the principal, and I would assume Brooke would direct the principal to oversee that and make sure it's taken care of.
So let's talk about our December board meetings so that we can all prepare. We have one, the 10th, that we moved because of the 9th. Do we feel like we need one on the 16th?
Can we clarify, or is the question just what's going on
Yep, so on the 9th is when there are 3 select boards that meet, the same schedule that we meet, that we would like to present to about the innovation. And so to allow us to attend those meetings, we moved the board meeting from the 9th to the 10th.
Someone had expressed that the Fairhaven meeting.
The Fairhaven one's on Tuesday, it's not Monday. Fairhaven does theirs on Tuesday.
Oh, Rick already went to the
Rick
Fairhaven
already
one.
went. Yeah, I asked in our
Oh,
buildings and
gotcha.
grounds why it was changed from the 9th to the
Gotcha.
10th.
Yeah, it's West Haven, Orwell, and Castleton.
Yeah, but I didn't hear the 3, but I said Fairhaven was on Monday.
And Orwell. Yeah, so there's.
West Haven's in the morning.
Oh, you're in the morning? Okay. Because nobody works in West Haven? I'm just kidding.
It's true.
It's true.
The Orwell holiday concert.
Except for Trevor and I. Oh, well, you two.
I mean, not that it matters, looking at it like that, yes, I can't go.
Well, maybe you can set up a table outside of it.
Or maybe not.
So I guess, back to the question, do we need one on the 16th?
Yeah.
Or do we need an extended buildings and grounds, and then people can come to that and,
I would say the second.
Yeah.
We already have a building and grounds.
right, so what we would do is not have a board meeting and have
So
an
you could just
extended.
have a longer building and grounds to make sure.
Yep.
Or if the meeting is open up to more than the committee, is everybody who attends a voting member, or you have to be?
Only the members of the committee are a voting member, and then, but the other other board members can attend. Right, sure.
Anybody?
We're open to the public, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Committee members.
Should we make that buildings and grounds meeting, should we try to publicize it more?
I'll post them.
I'm just asking.
Well, he's saying, like, make it more, like, yeah, they're all open, but does anybody come to buildings and grounds? He's saying, like, get it out there, maybe put it on Facebook or do something, so
Yeah.
people know we have a meeting that night. And
Because this is
topic
kind of the last
discussion would be-
hurrah,
I
right?
mean, we could say finalize plans for the innovation project, that
Yeah,
might get
and
more
then-
people out.
I will not be at that meeting, so.
I can be there, and if we need to like,
Yeah.
kind of say, hey, this isn't like the opportunity to, like, understand how the committee works, that it's only the committee members that vote, people can make comments when recognized. If we did that, we just would have to make sure we have organization to it.
I mean, when I'm talking about a committee meeting, it's the committee meeting, and the public doesn't get to talk at committee
Yeah.
meetings.
There is public comment.
comment.
There's public comment.
Just you'd have to have a semblance, and I'm more than happy. to
And
do
Peter,
that.
so Peter is the chair of that committee, he has had some obligations, so Trevor is the vice chair, and I think Trevor's okay with running.
Crack the whip. Yeah, that's cool.
Would that be at the high school?
Well, it's at another school. I was just trying to look up which
That's North Main Street Fair.
Fairhaven grade school. So that means if you cancel that board meeting, you're missing their student presentation that night, but I can maybe.
No, we have to do that online.
But it would still occur at the committee.
If you want it to, or if we're not having a board meeting, we could just have it at the high school. So it's up to you. I just want,
Well, if we advertise it so that we get public coming to put input, the grade school will be good. I mean, we could have it there and have it in the library, utilize the chairs there.
okay, we'll keep it at the grade school. That's fine.
High school, you'd have to go in the library there, and I don't know, I think that's
All right, we'll just keep it at the grade school.
problematic. That matter.
That's at 5:30, correct?
At 5:30. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
If we're doing if
You
we're
need a
doing
motion to cancel that.
Yeah,
board
so,
meeting.
so let's make a motion first. So I need a motion to cancel the December 16th board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Any discussion about that? No. Okay. Discussion about that? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, do I need to do anything about no, because it's already going to be a warrant meeting. All right, so now, you want to discuss the building?
the time of that buildings and
5:30, same as it was.
Still gonna, that's gonna be early for the public, you might say.
That's okay, it'll go till 7:30 probably.
And you won't need a policy meeting that night, so we didn't officially cancel that, but I think
Do we need a motion to cancel policy? All right, I'd like a motion to cancel policy meeting for the December 16th, please.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. No policy, only building and grounds.
only building and grounds.
Yep, all right, Glenn.
Well, I was wondering, I mean, if you're trying to get as many people there, 5:30 may be
on the
I
early
know.
side, especially, I mean, I'm usually still working then, so we could even split the difference at 6. I mean, it helps if there's no regular school board meeting, or just start it at 6:30 as an extended meeting. And, you know, especially if you're trying to get people that are going to have kids in the school, I think 5:30 is, a lot of times, is when everybody's arriving at home, and they're not going to show up at the meeting because they're doing stuff.
So how do you feel about that, Chris,
I don't
Trevor?
care. What's the intent of the meeting? Is the intent of the meeting for us to kind of come up with, all right, these are the things that we want to move forward with?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Is that really the place to have the public? Or was the public the other day?
Well, I think you're gonna have other meetings like the other day. We need to schedule them, get them on the calendar, but.
I think the purpose of that one is to hopefully finalize a plan.
Right.
So that then we can get an estimate on it before January, that January
We do
deadline.
have some public that are just very interested in that part of it, and I don't think we're gonna get 30 people. You know what I mean? I think you're gonna get the people that really care about the minutia of the project might come and listen to what you have to say. I don't know if I'd change the time, because I agree, I don't think the goal is to like get every single, you know?
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the only reason that I was suggesting is because there are maybe people who might be more interested, who want answers to questions, who might want to show up to that meeting, and those questions will be answered. Are we going to turf? Are we not going to do turf? That kind of stuff. Although it will come out later, it just gives the more interested people another opportunity to hear what's going on firsthand. But I agree, I don't think we need to move the meeting. It's just it's an important committee meeting.
Yeah.
What we might want to ask is whether or not, because you'd already have pay TV or whoever it is who comes in and televises, why not do that, and then people could actually see it if they wanted to.
I can ask.
Maybe an hour earlier, but that's, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, Trevor? That's all right.
I think the more meetings we have that are open to the public, or if it's just one where to decide that, the better off we are.
Yep, can't hurt.
Well, the concern I have is we have a task to do, and this is I remembered. We have a task to do, and it's an important task, and if we have 30 people and each person gets 33 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, now that's 90 minutes, that's an hour and a half.
Right.
So that's the concern, and that's, what is the purpose of that meeting, is the purpose of that, and I have no problem with the public being there, that's not what I just want to make sure that that's clear.
Yep.
It's just, what are we trying to get done in that meeting?
Yep. You still have the same reason for the meeting. The reason for the meeting has not changed. All right, so we're into personnel matter executive session. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question before we?
Yep.
Can I ask about the Benson meetings? Did we talk about that at all?
We've only had one.
With the staff.
Public
the
meeting
staff.
is not until tomorrow.
Right.
Tomorrow night. So whomever on finance, whomever wants to come.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night?
I thought it was
Yeah,
just
6
the
o'clock.
parent. I thought it was just the parents.
Tomorrow night.
Parents, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like open to the whole public.
No, but I'm
By
talking
public,
about.
I just mean the non-staff members. It's not until tomorrow.
But like, the board can go, but not everybody in the community. So it's not really open to the public.
So it's the finance committee, we talked about it at the last board meeting.
Oh, it's a committee meeting.
Yeah.
Well,
no.
no.
It's
But
a
no.
committee, is looking to speak with Benson. Finance committee is looking to speak with Benson about their middle school students at this point. So we've already spoken with the teachers, or the whole staff, actually. We spoke with the whole staff, right? That was the whole staff? Yeah, we spoke with the whole staff.
There was a couple people missing.
But we spoke with the whole staff already.
We being the finance
The
committee.
finance committee. So just Rebecca and I happened to be the ones that were able to show up because it was a 3:10 right after school meeting. And, right, and we were talking to them because at the finance committee, we were talking about the low enrollment in Benson for middle school students. And did we feel like we were offering the best education to these
Okay,
students
all right.
And
Yes, I
so we're
recall this
talking to them, yes. And so now, tomorrow on Tuesday, we're moving to speaking with the parents of the students that would have that.
What time is that at, Julie?
6.
It's just for the parents and the students.
It's the
Yeah,
parents
right
of,
now,
I think
I
we did
think-
what, 5, 6, 7, and 5, 6, and 7?
6, 7?
5 through 7.
5 through 7, I think.
Right.
Yeah, 5 through 7 is who we invited to the meeting.
For the initial
Yeah, for the- yeah.
conversation, and then I think that feedback goes back to the finance committee.
And then we decide what to do beyond there. Yep.
So if a finance committee member can't go, you're okay with that?
Yeah.
I'm planning on going.
I can't go.
That's okay. Yep. It's not like a committee meeting or anything. Yep.
Back to one other question. So December 10th, we have our meeting on December 10th and not on the 9th.
Correct, finance and board,
Finance and board on the 10th.
correct.
Yep. All set? Okay. All right, so I need executive session for personnel matter, please.
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're in executive session. All right, I need a motion from executive session, please. Wait, no, we're already out.
I'm going to give you the motion.
I gotta be.
So I make a motion that we authorize Brooke to write a letter regarding our conversation about the personnel matter that we went into executive session for.
Great. Mike, second. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion to adjourn?
Second.